Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Chapter 31. In the past few days, Jason has been in the laboratory. Bruce Wayne places a lot of demands on his suit. These make his modification very troublesome. It is not an easy task to convert plate armor into ordinary armor while ensuring defense. Many systems in the warframe require extensive modifications. Many weapons need to be remade. These are very troublesome. Although Jason doesn't think he is a good person, but he still knows how to repay kindness. Bruce Wayne was really nice to him. He really took on the responsibility of being a father. Bruce Wayne never refused what he wanted. This favor is too big to be owed. Now Bruce Wayne finally has a way to go. Naturally, he wanted to satisfy him. But, in fact, he really felt that giving this armor to Batman was of no use. Before forming the Justice League, Batman really hasn't met many characters with high combat capabilities in Gotham City. Most of Gotham's villains, they are all characters with high intelligence. The original's fighting ability is good, but its superiority and destructive power are high. More often than not, even the opponents are gangsters and gang members in the city. Using this kind of armor is simply bullying. Wearing a battle armor that can fight Thanos and bullying street gangsters, what is this but hooliganism? Jason observed a few minutes of silence for Gotham City's big and small villains. Continue to modify the armor in front of you. Luckily he didn't work long hours. Alfred walked in with a heavy look on his face. Master, something happened. Jason looked at Alfred with a look of surprise on his face. Mr. Alfred is a very calm old man. He has served in MI6. It is completely possible to do things without being surprised. But now his expression is very ugly, and his eyes are flashing with anxiety. Jason put down the device in his hand and asked, Grandpa Alfred, what happened? Don't be anxious, speak slowly. The headquarters of Wayne Group was blown up. Alfred took a deep breath and said, What? Jason suddenly stood up from his seat. The headquarters of Wayne Group is a landmark building in Gotham. Thanks to the foresight of Bruce Wayne's parents, Wayne Tower has become the most famous building in Gotham City. It is also the face of the entire Gotham City. In addition, this is just the office space of Wayne Group. In addition to employees, there are various documents inside. Being dumber has nothing of value. So since the Wayne Tower was built, no one in Gotham City has caused trouble here. Even the supervillains are the same. It's no good, and it will also lead to crazy revenge from the Wayne Group. Who is going to cause damage here? So Jason found it hard to believe that someone actually dared to do this despite the disdain of the world. Randomly, a surge of anger rose from the bottom of my heart. This is his family's property. Someone in Gotham City blew up the door of his house. The expression on Jason's face suddenly darkened. What are the casualties? 3 employees died. Fortunately, Wayne Tower is big enough, otherwise the casualties would be more serious. Alfred said with a solemn expression. Take good care of their families. Jason said. Master is already doing it. Alfred spoke. Have you found out who did it? Jason then asked. No clue at all. Alfred shook his head and said. The camera was destroyed before the explosion. As soon as the security personnel noticed something was wrong, the explosion occurred. And even the experts within the group have not discovered what kind of explosives the other party used. People within the group can't be found out. Jason couldn't believe it. Let's just say it's the trash from the Gotham Police Department. If they can't investigate it, that's normal operation. It's not something that should be investigated. But if Wayne Group's own scientists can't study it, then it shouldn't be done. Wayne Group also has its own arms company in the research of explosives, although it is not the first in the world. But it is also at the forefront of the world. It is difficult to say that there is any new type of explosive in the world that even the Wayne Group's laboratories are not aware of. Yes, young master, even the Wayne Group people can't investigate it. So the master asked me to ask you. See if you can help investigate. Alfred said with a sigh. Hearing this, Jason nodded. Then don't waste time, Grandpa Alfred, let's go. Jason said something, picked up a toolbox, and followed Alfred out. Soon, the two arrived at Wayne Tower. Jason saw. The first floor of the building seemed to have experienced a dragon spring wind. It was a complete mess. The surrounding area was also frequently blocked. Jason frowned and said directly, Grandpa Alfred, let these people come out. I'll go in and investigate personally. It's the young master. Alfred answered and went directly outside the car. Soon, the building was emptied. The surrounding area was cordoned off by the police. Jason Alfred went in carrying the box. Go inside the building. Jason looked at the darkened walls around him and opened the box. Dozens of small drones flew out from inside. Skynet, conduct isotope spectrum analysis, C14 positioning spectrum analysis, and establish a three-dimensional model of the site. Scanning. Skynet's voice rang from the phone. Dozens of small drones are like little bees. Under the control of Skynet, the interior of the building is constantly being scanned. Countless amounts of data were collected. The three-dimensional model is being created. Restore the explosion scene. Jason took a look at the data and said, the explosion scene is being restored. Soon in Skynet's simulation, a virtual scene was simulated. Only, the source of the explosion was indeed a golden light group, and its true identity could not be seen clearly. Skynet, analyze the surrounding elemental components. Can you find any abnormalities? Analyzing. No stupid compounds found. Skynet's voice rang. Jason raised his eyebrows and fell into thought. Almost all high-power explosives today are products of phenyl and potassium nitrate. The more famous explosives such as C4 and TNT are made from phenyl compounds. But in the environment, he could not detect any traces of these two substances. Not even the remains of other explosives were found. As if the explosion happened out of thin air. Did I offend someone who is proficient in magic? Jason couldn't help but think to himself. Since no explosives were found, he could only think about super ability. But he didn't have any grudge against anyone. Jason frowned, lost in thought. Chapter 32. I spent a long time investigating inside Wayne Tower. Jason didn't find any clues. Who would come to blow up such a building that is almost useless? Apart from causing some property damage to Wayne Group, there will be no loss at all. Even if you want to kill people, this is not a good place. Wayne Group executives are not here at all. We only come to Wayne Tower when there is a shareholder meeting. But they also took a helicopter directly into the building from the top floor. You can enter from below. Even if terrorists wreak havoc, it will be of no use. And according to Alfred, surveillance is broken. This is not something a terrorist can do. After much deliberation, he decided to ask the old housekeeper in charge of the family. Grandpa Alfred, has our Wayne Group provoked anyone recently? No, Master. You also know that our Wayne Group is the largest philanthropic enterprise in Gotham. 60% of the public facilities in Gotham City were built by our Wayne Group. How could we have any enemies? Even if there is business competition, it is impossible to resort to such methods. Alfred shook his head and said, although shopping malls are like battlefields. But no matter how fierce the fight is in the mall, you still abide by the rules. Otherwise, if you blow up my building today and I blow up your building tomorrow, who can still open a company? That's really weird. How could someone attack Wayne Group? Jason was a little puzzled. Suddenly, Jason had an idea. Grandpa Alfred, why do you think these people want to conduct surveillance? Before Alfred could answer, Jason naturally said to himself. Unless there are any clues in the surveillance video that can reveal their identity. Jason's eyes lit up when he thought of this. It must be like this. If there were no clues in the surveillance, there would be no need for these people to go to such great lengths to destroy the surveillance footage. All it takes is an explosion. Grandpa Alfred, can I still watch the surveillance? Master, the surveillance was destroyed before the explosion occurred. And the hard drive is damaged and there's no way to recover it. Alfred shook his head and said, not always. Jason licked his lips. Surveillance within Wayne Group was compromised. What about other places? Although Gotham is a shabby city, the transition between old and new is very obvious. But where Wayne Tower is located is the bustling place in Gotham City. The surrounding surveillance video density is very high. Even if the mastermind behind the scenes destroyed a large number of surveillance cameras, he would definitely be able to find the fish that slipped through the net. Skynet, control all surveillance in the 2 blocks surrounding Wayne Tower. Find the outsiders who entered Wayne Group today. Analyzing. Soon, Skynet's search yielded results. 104 outsiders entered Wayne Tower today, and 103 people are still alive. There is only one man whose traces remain undiscovered. As he said that, a screen appeared in front of Jason. An ordinary-looking man appeared on the screen. At the same time, a very blurry video started playing. Jason could only manage to imagine that the man on the screen entered Wayne Tower. Dodge Marco, a former Bald Eagle Imperial Army soldier, retired 4 years ago due to a broken arm. Seeing this, Jason's eyes shrank. The Dodger in the video is obviously a guy with all 4 limbs. Jason's mind was spinning. A thread was connected. Able to reborn broken limbs, and capable of suicide explosions. There seems to be only one thing in this world that can do that. Jason's eyes flashed. Skynet, investigate the origin of this person. Look at his schedule and where it comes from. Soon, this Dodge's information was displayed on the screen. Displayed on the screen. This Dodger is a sailor on an oil tanker and just took a plane to Gotham City today. Then came directly to the Wayne Group. HMPH. Disabled people are hired on oil tankers, and there are philanthropists among the Bald Eagle oil giants. Jason can be sure that there is definitely something fishy about this tanker. Skynet, investigate the owner of this tanker. This cruise ship belongs to a petroleum company named Elk. Part of this company's shares are secretly held by a Texas-based pharmaceutical company. The chairman of this company is Aldrich Killian. Jason's eyes lit up when he heard the name. As expected, it was Killian who was the deadbeat. The name Killian may not be famous, but Extremis is definitely famous. This virus is derived from recombinant human DNA. It can bring many incredible abilities to people. Almost unlimited self-healing, powerful strength, super reaction speed, and faster thinking. But this virus also has its own shortcomings. That's very uncontrolled. When people's emotions fluctuate, violent explosions may occur. As it was no less powerful, the most advanced explosives were added. Now Jason figured out why no explosive residue was detected. The human body is originally a bomb. How could he be able to detect the remains of explosives? Killian, you are such a loser, how dare you provoke me? Jason gritted his teeth and said bitterly. He didn't bother to go to Killian first, but this guy actually came to his door first. Needless to say, it must have been him who saved Tony. Except for this, he couldn't figure out where to start his feud with Killian. This guy is already a mentally disturbed person. Long-term physical deformity has made this guy mentally sensitive and extreme. After being let go by Tony Stark at a conference in Bern, Switzerland more than 20 years ago. It was even more extreme in my heart. Thinking about revenge against Tony Stark all the time. If Pepper Potts wasn't stronger than Tony Stark, maybe he actually succeeded. He saved Tony Stark. Naturally, Killian, the street boy, hated him. Regardless of how Killian got the news, things couldn't be better between the two of them. It just so happens that I am very optimistic about your Extremis. You actually delivered it to your door yourself. Jason sneered, his eyes flashing coldly. Skynet, activate the violent force plan. Convert all reserved resources into combat effectiveness within 5 days. And immediately locate Killian's position for me. Go directly to this bastard to settle the score in 2 days. Jason gritted his teeth and said directly. It's young master, the plan has been started. Skynet's voice rang on the phone. But within it, there was some solemnity. Chapter 33. The production capacity of modern assembly line production is very terrifying. Especially under the control of artificial intelligence, a brain that surpasses humans. The efficiency of the machine has reached the highest level. As long as the raw materials are sufficient, the issue of shutdown will not be considered at all. It was just the next day. The assembly factory Jason built underground has built more than 2,000 pieces of steel armor. This is despite the fact that all parts cannot be supplied. Although this is only the most basic first-generation armor. But taking it out is enough to conquer a small country. Not to mention, Jason was just taking out a private enterprise leader. Skynet, detect Killian's whereabouts. Target mission has entered the tanker. The tanker has set off from New York Harbor and is heading to the oil country. According to the speed, it will enter the high seas within 1 day. It will reach the predetermined position. Skynet preached in a serious tone. Jason nodded after hearing the report. I don't know if it's to avoid the limelight or something. Killian jumped on the street and ran directly onto the tanker after launching a terrorist attack. Want to drive directly to the oil country. A 10,000-ton oil tanker is very large. No different than a moving fortress. Many people will build their nests on large oil tankers and roam the high seas. I don't know what ulterior motives to do. Says Killian. Extremis is a shameful thing after all. Although human testing is already the norm among large companies in Bald Eagle. But there are still some taboos. In addition, the participants in Killian's experiment were all retired and disabled soldiers. This group of people is very united. If something goes wrong, Killian might not be able to escape in the Bald Eagle's homeland. Therefore, it is very normal for Killian to place his base on an ocean tanker. This also happens to be convenient for Jason. He was also afraid that if he took action in Bald Eagle's homeland, his strength would be discovered by others. Skynet, monitor the traces of this oil tanker in real time. Remind me after entering the high seas, we will act immediately. After saying something to Skynet, Jason turned around and left. Then Jason went to see Alfred, the old butler. Grandpa Alfred, I want to secure Gotham Port tonight. No problem, Master. The general facilities in Gotham Port were invested and built by our Wayne Group. It's no problem borrowing it for a day. Alfred didn't ask Jason what he wanted from the port. As an old butler, he only needs to do his job well. If Jason were an ordinary child, he would have to educate him a lot. But Jason is a genius. His IQ is no less than that of an ordinary adult, and there is absolutely no need for him to interfere with Jason's behavior. That's great. Grandpa Alfred is helping me secretly contact a transport convoy. Jason said with a smile. He wanted to take action on the high seas, but the biggest problem he faced was how to send all these steel armors to the high seas. Of course, the radar stealth technology on the armor is very advanced. But there are more than 2,000 pieces of armor that can be clearly seen with the naked eye without using radar. By then, I'm afraid the entire Bald Eagle community will be in an uproar. Define him as a terrorist. Jason didn't want to get into trouble. After thinking about it, I decided to dive into the sea. Steel armor doesn't have to worry about seabed pressure at all. Moreover, it cannot be detected by sonar, coupled with the cover of night. He would soon be able to reach the high seas without anyone noticing. When the time comes, he will definitely be able to give Killian a surprise. Killian, who was sailing on the sea, didn't know that because of some of his actions, he was being targeted by Jason. At the moment he was very angry and roared at his men. Tell me what's going on. Why did he explode suddenly? This is something that shouldn't be done. The expression on Killian's face was very angry. Dodge is one of the few people on his staff who can integrate Extremis relatively well. She is usually his right-hand man. He didn't send out the Dodgers for any surprise attack, but to directly assassinate the guy who caused trouble for him. Follow Dodge's fighting prowess. Assassinating a little kid is no problem at all. Even if the regular army wants to kill him, it will cost a lot. Let alone a company's security team. What he didn't expect was, the assassination has not yet begun, and he has high hopes for his men. He actually blew himself up directly at Wayne Group. This made him furious with his group of scientists. Can't you accomplish anything without that woman? If it weren't for my lack of time, why would I give this kind of task to you wastes? I'm giving you 2 days to solve this problem, otherwise you will know what will happen. Killian yelled angrily. Several of his scientists looked at each other and left quickly. Looking at several scientists leaving, Killian's eyes were filled with haze. Unlike Tony Stark, who was born to be a rich man, he was born in a poor family. And he was born disabled. He spent most of his life working hard to get into a top university and learn knowledge. Just to heal myself. But he found that the reality was too cruel. Although he finally cured himself, he had no time to study it himself. He needs to raise the funds needed for research by himself, and the investors have various requirements. He has to work hard to deal with it. And Tony Stark just needs to have fun and do research every day. How could he not hate Tony Stark? Extremis is the way for him to realize his dream. This thing is not stable yet, so he is naturally anxious. As early as a few years ago, the group of people who found him made a series of detailed plans for him. Even he didn't know some of the contents of the plan. All he knows is that light is part of his responsibility. It has already involved the president and vice president of the Bald Eagle Empire. Just this year, the vice president's poor daughter was in a car accident. The leg was directly amputated. This poor child may have to spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. Extremis is a drug that can reborn a broken limb. Naturally, the vice president's first choice. His purpose, through Extremis, is to control the vice president. After all, it's for the child's father. Nothing is impossible. He just needs to keep Extremis safe. You can complete your task. By the way, complete your revenge. He wants to make those who once looked down on him pay a sufficient price. When I think of this, Killian's pretty face was full of ferociousness. Chapter 34. High Seas. 10,000 meters in the air. Jason is looking at the tanker below through the imaging device in his helmet. At this height in the air, the originally huge oil tanker seemed unusually small. The view above can only be seen through the helmet. Skynet, are the steel armor troops in place? The armored army has been deployed. Clean the nearby waters and don't let other ships come over. Expand outage plan, Jason said coldly in midair. A cleanup plan has been implemented. The shutdown plan has begun. All network ports are blocked. Radio silence on. Satellite contact lost. The tanker engine is shutting down. Listen to Tianwang's methodical report. A sneer appeared on Jason's lips. He will make this oil tanker disappear silently on the sea today. No news can be leaked out. Jason could see through the helmet in front of him. The people on the tanker had begun to panic. Apparently, the sudden shutdown of the tanker alarmed them. However, this was all within Jason's expectation. Modern tankers, for convenience. Most are equipped with electric control systems. All activities of the ship are controlled by the central system. Under the invasion of Skynet, all this is in vain. Even if they want to activate manual controls, they will also find that the tanker's propeller can no longer be controlled. This oil tanker has become an isolated island in the sea. The corners of his mouth raised slightly, and Jason flew towards the sea quickly. At the moment, the tanker was already in chaos. Who can tell me what happened? Killian shouted loudly when he saw the mess on the boat. Doctor, our main engine has shut down for unknown reasons. Now we are in the process of restarting. Our external communications have also been cut off. Whether it's the internet, radio, or satellite phone, it doesn't work right now. Killian was stunned when he heard what this subordinate said. He just took a rest. Why did he look like this when he got up? Have they entered the Bermuda Triangle? Not enough, Killian asked, calming down quickly. Find out the reason. Tell me why this happened. After giving the order, Killian walked onto the deck to see if there was any problem outside. Soon, he spotted a flash of fire in the sky. After undergoing the strengthening of Extremis, Killian's vision, hearing, and thinking ability have all been greatly enhanced. Soon he discovered that the fire in the distance seemed to be getting closer. Come here, prepare for a firefight. Soon, a team of well-trained personnel wearing black combat uniforms came onto the deck. The rifle in his hand was pointed at the sky, waiting for things in the sky to fly down. Soon, the fire in the sky flew over the ship. These people also saw clearly what this thing looked like. This is a white and black armor. It doesn't look like a product of the present at all, but it looks like it came from the future. However, Killian recognized this armor at a glance. He squeezed out a sentence from between his teeth. Jason Wayne. Jason was a little surprised when Killian called out his name all of a sudden. Hey, since you've heard of me, that's interesting. He had only worn the armor once before. That was the time to save Tony Stark. He knew that Killian was a die-hard. Maybe it was because of this grudge that he fell in love with him. Now it seems that it is indeed the case. Moreover, I am afraid that his identity has been leaked for some reason. Otherwise Killian wouldn't have recognized him at a glance. Tell me how you got the news about me, and I can consider keeping your body intact. Jason looked down condescendingly. The sound came from the steel armor. Hearing this, Killian laughed angrily. Hey, it seems you've got us. Don't think that you are invincible just because of this armor. Young people, you must know how to be respectful. Fire and shoot him down. Killian waved his hand, and several well-trained guys around him opened fire. Jason suddenly felt heart palpitations. The rapid heightening caused all these bullets to miss. Skynet, analyze the situation. Skynet directly targeted the people below and the equipment they were wearing through Jason's helmet. After analysis, the firearms in the hands of these people were ordinary firearms. But the bullets fired were special bullets. Hitting the target produces a strong ionization pulse. Can cause fatal damage to electronic equipment. The probability of the armor being damaged reaches 90%. Hearing this, Jason felt palpitated. Fortunately, he suddenly reacted and ran fast. Otherwise, it might really capsize in the gutter. He just saw these people changing magazines for no apparent reason and felt something was wrong. He didn't expect that these guys could really have black technology that threatened him. He remembered it from the movie. The men controlled by Killian can even control steel armor. As expected, we cannot underestimate the world's heroes. Killian, I didn't expect you to be quite prepared to deal with me. As for those of you who can self-destruct, call them out too. Otherwise you may really have no chance. Jason shouted below. While stalling for time, he began to call for his Iron Legion. He decided to hurry up and kill this guy. To avoid long nights and many dreams. He always felt that Killian, the street boy, was mysterious. He studies biotechnology. How could there be such a thing that could deal with steel armor? This small ionizing pulse weapon. The manufacturing difficulty is very high. He didn't believe that Killian, a guy like him, didn't even have the money to conduct his own experiments 20 years ago. You can research this technology yourself. There must be someone behind him. So Jason decided, in order to avoid long nights and endless dreams, it's better to kill this guy directly. As for the person behind him, we can slowly trace it. In this world, no one can escape Skynet's pursuit. Killian below looked at Jason flying hundreds of meters in the air with a confused expression on his face. As for that, flying so high, you are too cowardly. At this distance, even a rocket launcher can't hit anyone. The effective range of an ordinary rifle is 400 meters. The special bullets they use have a shorter range. It was simply impossible to hit Jason from this distance. Go, get the sniper rifle and shoot him down. Killian almost spat out these words through his teeth. He couldn't understand what Jason wanted to do. Was it just to play a trick on him by putting so much effort into interfering with communications and ships? Chapter 35. Killian's idea is right. In the hands of a professional sniper, the maximum range of a sniper rifle can even reach 2,000 meters. But the armor that was fighting was not flying in the sky. Under Jason's high-speed maneuvers, the snipers on the tanker had nothing to do with him. Jason Wayne, what on earth do you mean? Are you just here to take a stroll and don't even dare to fight? Killian said through gritted teeth. Sorry, I'm still a kid and can't fight. I just like floating in the sky, what can you do? Jason said from the sky, controlling the loudspeaker on the tanker through Skynet. His armored army is still under the sea. It would take a while to come up, so he would naturally have to delay. When Killian heard this, he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Child, I believe you. Whose rich kid goes to the battlefield? Kill dozens of terrorists without blinking your eyes. Killian thought bitterly in his mind. Said directly to his men. Go, get the stinger. Hearing this, the two black-clad team members walked directly to overtime. Jason, who was eavesdropping in the sky, almost fell from the sky when he heard this. After he stabilized his body, he started to curse. Bald Eagle's arms dealer is AF king piece of shit. As long as you have money, you can really take out anything. Stinger short-range guided missile. But it is used to fly helicopters. The range is several kilometers. Moreover, the missile has an automatic locking system and is not afraid of various maneuvers at all. This thing is used by the military. I didn't expect Killian to be able to get something like this. These arms dealers are really nothing. Thinking of this, Jason didn't stop here. Directly down to Monza, suddenly plunged into the sea. Now unless Killian buys a torpedo, there is nothing he can do against him. After waiting for a few minutes for his armored army to arrive, Jason came out of the water. Killian, you are so stubborn. I'm out again. What can you do to me? Jason flew directly into Killian's face, very arrogantly. But Killian didn't mean to answer him at all and just waved his hand. The two missiles flew directly towards Jason with tail flames. Kissin just floated in midair without moving. Just when the two missiles were about to hit Jason, two figures appeared in front of Jason and blocked the missile. After the flames dissipated, Jason was still floating in the air. There is not even a trace of the slutty white armor on his body. There are two more armors similar to the God of Door beside him. Killian laughed loudly below. Is this what you're good at? Jason Wayne, you really underestimate me. You want to kill me just because of these two scraps of metal. As he spoke, fire started to appear on Killian's body. A dazzling orange light constantly wandered under his skin, as if there was something alive. The suit on his body also appeared with the fire and was burned directly. As he finished speaking, several more firemen walked out of the cabin. I was a little red from being stepped on by them after working overtime. You see, Jason Wayne, the human body is humanity's greatest treasure. The scraps of metal on your body are just rubbish. Jason heard Killian's confident words. He curled his lips. Said lightly, can you fly? When Killian heard this, it was as if his hat had turned green. He was so angry that he simply lost his mind. Kill him for me. Where are your missiles? Fire them. Killian gave an order, and the two missiles flew towards Jason again. But on the way, he was directly killed. Why bother, Aldrich Killian? You can't do anything to me, so you might as well surrender. Maybe I can spare your life. Killian ignored Jason's words and kept ordering his men to open fire. I really won't give up until I reach the Yellow River. Jason pouted. A wave of his hand. The water around the tanker looked like flowers. Countless steel armors flew out from the bottom of the sea and floated in the air. In a short time, 2,000 steel armors surrounded the entire tanker. The cold steel mask looked at Killian below. The air suddenly became quiet. Looking at the densely packed battle armor around him, Killian held back what he was about to say. The entire deck was filled with the sound of swallowing saliva. How about it? Can you surrender now? You'd better speak up as soon as possible while I'm still interested in your information. Otherwise, I'm afraid your end will not be very good. Kissen said calmly in midair. Unless Killian suddenly took out the infinity gauntlet from his crotch and snapped his fingers. Otherwise God can't save this guy. Hearing Jason say this, the expression on Killian's face showed some hesitation. By cooperating with others, he also once knew the company behind him. However, the conclusion reached is indeed unfathomable. He had no idea how many people were from that organization. This made him very hesitation. I don't know if I should say it. It seems Aldrich Killian is not going to cherish this opportunity. Fire, Jason said in an indifferent voice. Wait. Before Killian could finish his words, he was buried in blue light. 2,000 pieces of steel armor. Even if a piece of armor fires just once, it can shatter more than half of the hill. This time the salvo fired. The entire upper part of the tanker was engulfed in flames. Looking at the sea of fire below, Jason said. Skynet, scan for life signals. There are still 4 life signals on the upper deck. Skynet's cold voice sounded from inside the helmet. Jason pouted. Apart from anything else, Killian, a street kid, is really tenacious in his vitality. Extremis, if it didn't have the side effect of exploding at any time, it would really be a good thing. At least his vitality is really the same as that of Xiaoqiang. Extinguishing. Jason said something, and white crystal blocks began to spray from the arms of the 2,000 armors. This is dry ice. Jason specially installed it to deal with these flames. I didn't expect it to be useful now. After the dry ice is projected, the fire on the ship quickly died down. Jason could finally see the scene on the deck. There are potholes everywhere, and there are even some silver-white metal leaking out. Jason frowned. Killian is a guy who can really make a living. It appears that the tanker has been reinforced. Otherwise, this round of salvo would have left the tanker almost half disabled. Soon, Skynet found Killian lying on the deck, not knowing whether he was alive or dead. At the moment he was covered in magma color. Half red and half black, it looks extremely weird. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.